So in the human sciences, in volume 1, what I'm trying to do is summarize not only the history of probability science, but the revolutions of possibility science and generativity science. So now we're talking in the science area. Probability science had 3 basic functions that led all the scientists into this, the 20th century. And even though they don't serve them well anymore, they were description, prediction, and control. The mission of science as they saw it was to enter this space and explain what it was. And they entered, and they gave their stories, and most of their stories did not prove to be true. But because they were trying to describe and predict and control what was going on, control being the most difficult of all. So, for example, when I came into Springfield to work with the underclass communities, basically they really wanted me to set that up to control. And they really wanted to increase the police protection of the communities and basically ghettoize the community. And because they were on a model of description, prediction, and control. The description is that the guys are thugs and the women are on welfare, and the prediction is they're going to get worse. So what we have to do is control them in some way to separate them out from the majority population. That was the crisis in thinking for me. So what I did was worked hard at it. Bernie came the second year, helped me with it. But what I did was say, the hell with this control thing. We have to learn to align with nature, even if it's human nature. And we have to empower the people in the skills that they need, that they are now deficit, in the areas which they are now deficit, and we need to release them or free them. So we added to description and prediction. No reason to reject that. You ought to know what you're up against. We added relating, empowering, and freeing. And so the old model of description, prediction, control, the probabilities model was modified to become the possibilities model. Description, prediction, relating, empowering, freeing. We are now intervening for purposes of empowering the people to define their own destinies rather than controlling on our old terms. And that's related to the conversation that we had before, where we're now saying we're not going to let people, where some firms are now saying we're not going to let people work at home because we're not sure what they're doing every moment. We're going to bring them into work, but nobody asked any questions about relating to them, empowering them, and freeing them to make their contributions and define their own destinies. So that's the basic thesis. Any thoughts?
Well said.
I'm simplifying this as much as I can, but in any area that I enter with the mission of explicating the unknown, in any area that I enter, and that includes every area where we have so-called unsolvable problems, I begin with a parametric model. I begin with the known. I'd be a fool to create some pie in the sky and send people to alternative universes or something like that. Not going to happen. I need to know, by the way, that's where my description and prediction come from. I need to know what this is all about. It's a new area to me. Now, having done that, that's just organizing a bell curve around a central tendency. Having done that, I need to find out who the exemplar is. Who are the guys at the highest levels? Who are the guys, for statistical purposes, at the Six Sigma? Who are the guys out there, whatever the area is? And we've seen that happen in sharp relief in a lot of sports. For example, when they brought Jackie Robinson up, he's a middle of the pack player from the Negro Leagues, came to the major leagues and changed the culture of the major leagues, because in the Negro Leagues, every time you hit the ball to the outfield, you went for a double. Nobody did that in the major leagues. Everybody ran out their hit, took their single. Jackie was rounding first as fast as he could and going to second. Just changed the whole culture of the league. People had their stronger arms in the outfield, had to get rid of the ball faster. Runners had to learn to run faster. They had to take a cut at the base, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, that happens in every area. So what we look for is the exemplar. Who's the exemplar? In his time, Einstein was the exemplar, and we have studied Einstein. And we have adopted his principles to the degree that we could, and you and I have discussed them. Go as high as you can in terms of the representation of the image. Picture as large a perspective as you can in terms of what the potential is, what you are capable of doing, and then surrender to the requirements that are going to be imposed upon you when you try for that ideal. Now, if you have an exemplar, that's wonderful. You can study the exemplar. You can operationally define his functions, his components, and his processes, especially his processes. If you don't have an exemplar, that doesn't limit you. You can still operationally define in the ideal what an exemplar would look like. In other words, you can put a picture, hopefully not too far, hopefully reachable, beyond the 6 sigma, maybe the 7th sigma or something like that. If you put it out at 32nd, more difficult. But you define the exemplar and you say this is possible. And over a period of time, you try to train people to reach that beyond what exists in the normal curve in the parametric movement, in the parametric analysis. You begin a new curve. We call it a humpback whale. You begin a new curve by presenting an achievable image of who the exemplar is, and you try to swing as many people as you can from the extremities here on the positive side. You try to swing as many people as you can toward that. That's what gives you that humpback whale. And you start that movement with 10% of the population. 10% of the population, you have a movement. If you get one person or 2 people, that's good. Maybe you get your children, but it's not going to be a movement until this guy out here or gal becomes so attractive that the whole distribution starts to move to incorporate it. And in some cases, some people will continue to move out beyond the curves that are being created to follow them. I hope I do. I've been fortunate to be a stimulus to the human relations curve a long time ago, yes, but I've seen its culmination today. I hope to be able to do that in human generativity. Human generativity is a more inclusive term, and it's a more powerful contribution. One emphasizes getting along, going along to get along, and the other emphasizes creating a new environment for ourselves, creating our own destinies. Well, the third one is a product of the first 2, and that is that once you have the idea that, hey, you know what? I don't have to wait for first of all, I don't have to accept the terms of parametric modeling, because that occurs so rarely in history that yes, for a period of time, we can create an incredible array of products and services for a period of time, and it looks like this is going to last forever, but it doesn't, unless you align with nature and align with the conditions of your environment. Control is going to run out. Sooner or later, it's going to attenuate. But what you do, you get an image of what's possible. And the cover of the third book is the human generativity. And it's a cover of basically a tsunami wave, this humpback whale to the extreme. It's the global national product that we've had over the last going on 60 years, where we built this incredible prosperity, and everybody shared in it. Everybody shared in it. Some people at the end of the curve did not share equitably in many people's minds with some people at the front of the curve. Even though America was mostly responsible for the existence of this tsunami wave, there were some countries like the Swiss and some of the small European countries where the people, their gross national product was actually higher than Americans. America has a lot more variability, a lot more diversity. But the equitability argument goes like this. How can some people like the Swiss make $100,000 a year when there's people in Cuba and North Korea that make $100 a year? And they don't buy the argument that, hey, they used to make $10 a year. They don't buy that argument. They're just saying they ought to share more equitably. And I think that's a decision that different cultures have to make. I don't try to make that decision. All that I know is that the first step in becoming a healthy society is generating the productivity that gives you prosperity. And then you can work out these problems. Some are going to tax the people who created the curve to death, and others are going to work out an equitable distribution beyond the safety net so that the people can live comfortably. A healthy society is going to do everything it can to empower these people to generate their own prosperity. We have projects going in what we call the entrepreneurial community. We're attempting to empower these underclass communities to generate their own prosperity. And so that's the basic message of this book, is how do you solve these problems? If I add anything to that, it would be a picture of what a healthy society would look like, what the next great generation would look like. It would have people who are culturally related, all kinds of groups within, between, and among. People who participate in government, they're into government participation. People who produce products and trade freely in a free enterprise system. People who utilize what we call the new capitalist system, that is to say, creating capital in every area to not just financial capital, but creating the value in every area that we deal with, from economics through culture, through community, through organizations, through individuals, creating capital. Every person becomes of capital value. And finally, generativity. Generativity is the reason this book is called The Human Generativity, is because generativity is the last plank in that program to become the next great society, to empower those people who are motivated and capable of learning how to generate value and ultimately prosperity, are going to be the people who can generate their own destinies. And work's going to become a privilege. The way I see this country going now, it's going the opposite way. If you listen, about 50% of the advertisements that I see on TV are, you deserve more. The theme to the underclass is, you deserve more. And I don't think nature's, conceived of us that way. Anyway, that's that.